rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Superintendent for a day of pioneer schools, the next meeting, and under recognition, we'll be adding number 3, recognition of track, field, and soccer. There are no shared agreements
Tonight, so we'll move straight to recognition. D33 Pride Award. So the D33 Pride Awards are given to individuals who've made a significant impact on the students, staff, and families of District 33 community. Nominations are accepted and presented at the end of each trimester. The members of the Staff Recognition Committee judge the nominations, and one winner is selected in each category. All names are removed from the nominations before being given to the committee members for judging. While only one winner is selected in each category, the committee feels it is important to recognize all nominated individuals. Nominations were open for classified staff, certified staff, students, and volunteers or parents. A total of 13 individuals were nominated this trimester. Before introducing the winners, I would like to share the names of all of the nominees that were nominated this trimester. For certified staff, we have Jeanette Hernandez, Angeles Godoy, Gianna DeLuca, Matthew Mordini, Rose Nino, and Carmela Getz. For classified staff, we had Belitza Contreras de Leon, Maria Hernandez, Robert Vandermolen, Roy Rodriguez, and Sabrina Williams. And now for the certified staff winner, I would like to introduce Sarah Norton to introduce our winner.
Okay, so I would like to recognize Teresa Ocon. She is our family liaison at Turner Elementary School. She actually received 4 nominations from 4 different people: Natalie Cabral, Lucette Soto, Natalie Franco, and Belitza Contreras de Leon, all fellow family liaisons. Here's a summary of what her teammates had to say. Teresa is someone we all look up to and seek out support when dealing with tough cases. She works hard to build trusting and impactful relationships with all the parents and students that she works with. This year, she also took on the role of organizing childcare for all of our community events, such as ESL classes at Courier and our monthly parent cafes. As a family liaison, she always goes above and beyond. She displays a kind and understanding disposition when working with the families of District 33 and our staff members. She volunteers regularly to support in the main office when it's needed. She monitors students at arrival and dismissal, and also has been at the majority of our parent cafes, which happen twice a month, every month. Teresa is compassionate and supports families and staff who might be passing through difficult situations. She consults with administrators and the members of the family liaison team to make sure all resources are exhausted to help those individuals overcome barriers. Teresa is reliable, dependable, and I can say she's a wonderful asset to our team and our district.
Okay, the winner in our certified staff category is Anna Lord. Anna, would you mind coming up here? So Anna is a 5th grade teacher at Courier School, and she was nominated by Suzanne Avila, at another teacher at Courier School. I'm just going to read a short summary because it was a very long nomination. Anna's been with us for 30 years?
30 years.
30 years, retiring this year. So of course it would be a long nomination. But she has served on many committees over the years, and she is always considered a capable leader. During the years that the 5th grade participated in outdoor education at Camp Duncan, she facilitated organizing the activities the students participated in. She is the unofficial leader of the fifth grade team by being the initiator of ideas for the PLT agenda, team newsletter, pacing discussions, assessment analyses, assemblies, field trips, and conversations about classroom management. The next was Anna has positively impacted the members of the District 33 community through caring, kindness, and enthusiasm in various ways over the years. She has a constant smile and positive attitude every day, which is contagious for the people around her, both students and parents alike. While a chair of the Sunshine Committee, she provided many D33 staff with get well cards, bereavement plans, congratulatory notes, and small gifts on the birth of babies or the celebration of marriages. To this day, she often brings home-baked goods as gifts for courier staff for no reason other than to spread good cheer. She very often buys items for her students, such as water bottles, sunglasses, desk organizers, and school supplies, as well as other gifts as rewards or to celebrate holidays. She volunteers to lead after-school yoga class for staff to help them reduce stress and promote good health. She shows caring for the environment by taking her students out to pick up trash on Earth Day each year, participating in stewardship activities with the Mighty Acorns program, raising and releasing monarch butterflies with her class, and having her students plant seeds and care for their growing plants in the classroom. She has also volunteered for the food pantry and homeless shelter that serves the District 33 community. She is always one of the first to introduce herself to new staff members and ask how she can help them acclimate to Courier. These activities demonstrate her enthusiasm for the community in which she lives and works. Oh, Sue, because I said Suzanne, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Suzanne on the email, so I didn't know that. Sue, sorry.
I would just like to say a couple words because I know you have a busy agenda. It was so nice to walk in here because I have a student right here on a middle school advisory board who came up to say hi to me. And she made it through COVID with me when we were online, and that's so beautiful. And I see a great future for her. I said maybe she could be the principal here someday. And the baked goods actually come from my son, Steven, over there. He works at Panera, and he closes, and so he brings home all the extra food, and I just put it on the table at Courier Elementary School, and everybody digs in. It's always really good. So, and monarch butterflies are my passion. And I have a garden that I grow milkweed, and it attracts all my butterflies. So if anybody wants to know more about monarch butterflies, feel free to contact me. And it is my honor to have served in this school district for 30 years. I have a lot of wonderful memories. I am the person I am today and the teacher I am today because of D33. Thank you, everybody.
Picture of the ladies in the front with the board members, so you can see through here. If you just see it on the front again, and whomever wants to come up and get photos, please feel free to walk up. Track and field and soccer? Track and field.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
I have some really great news. I'm so excited to be here for so many things. Late breaking news. Our girls soccer team competed in the IPAC championship game tonight. They won 2-0. This is the second year in a row that they've gone completely undefeated in their whole season. So we are so proud of them. We'll have to bring them back. We have to celebrate them. So very exciting news for soccer tonight. We are also excited because our boys track team is on the way downstate to Peoria to compete. So I just want to share we have 9 athletes who are headed to Peoria who qualified for the state championship meet downstate. We have Miguel, who you have met before. He took first place in sectionals in the 400 and 800 meter run. We have a relay team from 7th grade, Caden, Obi, Gus, and Micah. They are going to state. 8th grade 4x100 relay team also, Caesar, Miguel, Noah, and Aiden. They're headed down. Obi took first place in both the 100 and 200 meter races. He's actually the second seed in the state, so we think maybe you have a good shot of bringing home a state championship with that one. Isaiah Sylvester won 2nd place in the 110 meter hurdles, and Noah and Gus will both compete in the high jump. So we've never sent this many athletes downstate. We're so excited to see this track team growing. It's amazing. We are looking forward to continuing to grow this program in the coming years. It's really cool. We did a clap out today where the whole school got to watch the athletes parade out of the building on their way to their competitions, and the whole school got to come and be a part of that and celebrate these athletes. It was amazing. Great show of school spirit, and just a really cool way to wrap up our day. So thanks. Oh, yeah. Yep. Great.
It is such a good day to be a Lehman Charger, let me tell you. I am here with one of our incredible, amazing, incomparable, innovative dual language arts teachers, Mrs. Pilar Rocha, and some of her students who are here to talk to you about our passion project. I am terrified of this project. There we go. So this project was born out of Mrs. Rocha's beautiful brain, but also really inspired by one of our students, Leah Ashline, who is really passionate about Meatless Mondays in the cafeteria. And this is actually her petition from 4th grade, petitioning for Meatless Mondays. I know, some visual pathos for you here. So this has been an incredible project. The students got to decide what they were going to sort of research, but also how. Were they going to Google it? Were they going to do interviews? Were they going to, one student surveyed the entire school about his topic. And then once they became the experts in these topics on a wide range of subjects, Meatless Mondays, cameras, video game lore, tons of incredible things that I learned so much about. They also then got to choose how they shared that information to the class as the resident expert. So we had students doing Google Slides, doing videos. One of our students who learned about cooking tried the recipes out on his family and then got to discuss the pros and cons. So our kids really had a lot of voice and choice in this and got to decide and be in charge of what they researched, how they researched it, how they gathered this information, and then how they were able to share what they learned, not only with students in the class and with Mrs. Rocha, but with their families and now with all of you. So we have some students here to share with you tonight. Those are their topics. They are linked, board members, if you are interested in seeing the whole presentation. But now we're going to have some of our students join you with their Chromebooks and talk to you about their greatest passions and what they've learned. Meatless Monday's coming for you, Mrs. Apostle.
Maybe she can come over. Leave-in students in about 30 seconds.
Hey, that's not your one. That's my one.
Pioneer School showcase.
Good evening. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Kathy Gorman, the principal at Pioneer Elementary School. So tonight we are highlighting some exciting things that are going on at Pioneer, and there have been a lot. I chose to specifically tell you about the things that we've been working on that go along with our strategic goals. Number 3, professional culture of teamwork and continuous improvement. And number 4, family engagement and community partnerships. First, though, I would like to introduce you to one of my 4th grade dual teachers, Vanessa Gorgas. She, along with a few of her students, are going to tell you all about a history project that they have put together.
Hi, everyone. So one of our ARC units recently was researching historical fiction, and I wanted to have the students really understand all the parts that go into historical fiction. For example, character analysis, the importance of the setting, and how to turn an actual event from history into a story. And I thought the best way to do that, instead of just one lesson after another, was to do it through a book study. So I read the class a very age-appropriate book about the Holocaust called Number the Stars. We read a chapter a day with a different focus until each focus became a natural conversation. I have never seen a group of students so excited about a read aloud. They were actually extremely annoyed with me when the chapters were over. We had amazing in-depth conversations about characters and why characters possessed certain traits using evidence from the book. We then watched the movie The Boy in the Striped Pajamas with parent permission to not only see the historical event, but also to see how the creator used their own fictional creativity within a real time period. We compared and contrasted the book and the movie. When we finished the book, their task was to write their own historical fiction book, using all the skills that we learned along the way. When they turned them in, and I simply read their titles and saw their artwork on their cover sheets, I was blown away. I have invited students to share their stories with you today. I hope you enjoy them as much as I did. And I know for the sake of time, we can kind of do like what the middle school just did and kind of partner up with people and have them read their stories. Take a look at their cover page and their titles because they were really impressive. They wrote about the Titanic, and other Holocaust stories, and September 11th. I cried on one of them. Okay, I don't know how you guys want to do this. You can just kind of walk this way.
Listen, I saw you're still.
Principal Advisory Committee. provide you with our final update of the school year. I brought about half of our committee tonight to share with you their progress this year. Would you guys like to come to the microphone? Here, I'll read it.
Can you get it off?
My name is Rebecca and I'm in 7th grade, and welcome to the LMS Principals Advisory Committee presentation. Hi, I am Marcus. I am in 6th grade. Things we like about LMS is our classes, our teachers, our clubs, the pizza, charter challenges, school bus, building and values, and how our school looks and our community.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Conger. I'm in 7th grade, and there are 3 things that we want to improve with the help of adults: food, safety, and time. We wanted to bring up these topics to help with healthier options at lunch, to bring up the backpacks, and longer passing periods.
Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm in 7th grade. So this year we met with a graphic designer. We didn't love the first 2 options, so we're going to keep this goal for next year. In my experience, I have seen an increase in supervisors in the halls lately for our safety. And I like this because it reduces student fights and price activities.
One of the big things that we wanted to change was to be better at helping the environment. We decided to put plants in the courtyard in hopes of improving air quality.
Got some pictures coming your way, Mr. Cadena.
Hi, my name is Esme. I'm a 7th grader here at Lehman. Here in Principal Advisory Committee, we've been working on a budget project for like a mental health room and just a break place for the students. We've looked through different catalogs to find fitting furniture and just some fun decorations. However, we are in need of options to go with the fire safety code that will just be safer for the students in general. Hi, my name is Evelyn Mondragon, and here we have projects that we have been working on for this past year. First, we have food tasting. We met with Airmark to try out some new types of chicken and gave our feedback. And we also did interviews. We helped with the interviews for the new dean candidates.
Hi, my name is Alex, and I'm thankful and grateful for your time, and we'll see you next year.
This has been a remarkable group of students to work with. We've had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. They've shared very candidly their experiences here at Lehman, and we've been able to make some improvements and look forward to continuing the work of this group into next year. Thank you.
Go home and read. I think it's still me. Back again.
Okay. We are coming back to you this evening with an update on our targeted designation. As you know, this year we were recognized, we were labeled as a targeted school by the Illinois State Board of Education, and we've been working this year to create a plan to implement for next year that we're going to talk through this evening. A couple of things we wanted to do tonight is first to remind you what that targeted designation means. We're going to review the action steps that we took this year in 2022-2023, and then preview our upcoming work in the coming school year. In your board packets this week, you should have received a copy of the actual plan that we are hoping to submit with your approval to the Illinois State Board of Education. It's linked in the board memo that came your way. But we are going to give you a brief overview of that plan this evening. So as a reminder, the Illinois State Board of Education has 4 summative ratings that are applied to schools. The kind of top tier is exemplary status. Then there's commendable, which is the tier 3. Tier 2 is the targeted status. And then the lowest ranking you can receive is, I can't remember what it is. But we are not in that comprehensive. So the comprehensive, what they do is they take this performance of all the schools in the state and they rank them. And the bottom 5% of the schools in terms of their performance overall receive that comprehensive rating. The targeted status means that one of our student groups performed below how those comprehensive schools perform. So our Black and African American student group's performance was lower than that bottom 5% of schools in Illinois. Obviously, we're not very happy about this, and our goal is to improve in the coming year. So our specific concerns when we dove into that data included our students' growth and proficiency on the IAR and math and reading, as well as chronic absenteeism. I will share with you that we've been here for the past couple of meetings talking to you about high school readiness and some changes that have come in our program. And a lot of that was the result of this status and really feeling compelled to open the hood of what's going on here at our school and digging into our data in a deep way that we haven't done recently, and knowing that we have some big systemic changes to make along with the focus on this particular student group. So a lot of what we've been talking about over the past couple of months is at the core coming from here. So we've taken some big steps for our whole school as well as for this particular student group. In the first year with a targeted designation, there's not very much that a school district needs to do. Basically, the Illinois State Board calls this a planning year. They require us to complete a needs assessment and to develop an action plan. We did not feel like we wanted to take a year just to plan. So we put some changes in place this year to help address the concerns that we were seeing. Our goal is to exit this targeted status when the fall comes with our data from this year. Regardless, though, of what comes back to us in the fall, we will implement this plan. So even if we regain our status as a commendable school, we will still be making these steps to help work with this group of students. So in this year, in year 1, we took the time to identify and understand the students that are a part of this group. We developed a very comprehensive data dashboard that was basically an educational novel on every one of the students who are in this group. We looked at when they arrived in District 33, how long they've been here, have they gone to preschool, were they in the dual program, what are all of their academic labels, do they have a 3-2-1 support system, are they in any of our leadership groups, what's their attendance rate, what's their discipline rate, all the things we could possibly think of to gather about these students, we built into a data dashboard. At the district level, we also developed the BTAG group, which is the Black Talented and Gifted group, a group of students from across the district in grades 3 through 8 who came together here at Lehman twice already, and they have one more meeting coming up next week to be focus groups and to be able to provide us some information candidly as students love to share their thoughts. We wanted to gather their thinking about their experiences here and how we can improve that for those students. We also took the time to really understand and interpret the data that we had in front of us. That data dashboard and the focus groups and all of the other data we had compiled was brought to a committee called the Targeted Action Group that we have here at Lehman. It is a group of teachers and other support staff here at Lehman who dove into that data and tried to understand the students that we have. We also brought this data to our instructional leadership team and our building leadership team and asked for their feedback and thoughts on things that we could do right here in year one to start to support these students in a much better way. One of the things that we really worked on this year was personal relationships with our building administrators. We know that chronic absenteeism is very high right now, and that students need to feel like coming to school is a safe and welcoming place to be. So we wanted them to have a familiar face they were looking forward to seeing, and we took that on as a building administrative team this year. So we know every single one of these students. We've gotten to know them, we've gotten to know their families, and we're really trying to support them with that personal relationship. On a monthly basis, I also do a discipline data review for looking for equity to ensure that we're not over-disciplining this particular group of students. Thankfully, we have a data system called Who Knew It that really helps us to do that in a very easy way. So I'm able to look at those reports on a daily basis if I want to make sure that our data looks like it's equitable for our students. And then we began to put individual intervention placements in place. When we reviewed that data, one of the things that we found, not surprisingly, is that all of these students are very unique. They have different stories, they have different backgrounds. We can't just say, oh, let's place them all in AVID, or oh, let's place them all in ASAP. Every one of them needs an individualized approach to help support their learning and their social emotional growth in school. So some students that needed them got attendance plans, other students were put in our AVID program, we used our ASAP program, we used our clubs to really ensure that every student got something to support them as a student here at Lehman. As you know, we did some IAR training for our staff to ensure that they're building literacy on how they can implement those testing strategies in their classrooms. We also worked on student assessment literacy with these students. We did a practice calendar with kind of soft skills like how to navigate the testing environment, how to just click on the right things using the highlight focus function, all of those pieces. And then we did math and literacy practice embedded into those classrooms as well. Our instructional leadership team is doing a book study right now on Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain by Zaretta Hammond, with the goal of rolling that book study out to the full staff in the coming school year. It's a phenomenal book. We had the opportunity to go listen to Zaretta speak just a couple of weeks ago. She's a very powerful speaker, and we utilized what we learned from her book to develop a classroom checklist of best practices that we want to see in all of our classrooms here at Lehman. So next week we're doing our first walkthrough to see which teachers have implemented some of those things that she has in her book so that we can develop a professional development plan for our staff for the coming year. We are seeing some results. So this is one of my favorite things to share. So our chronic truancy rate in this particular group of students is down tremendously. So last year, 36.36% of the students in this group were considered chronically truant. We have dropped that rate over 16% to 20.59% of those students being chronically truant. So this is a great victory for us. When we look at all of our subgroups in our building, they actually have one of the best attendance rates of all of the groups that we have here at Lehman. So we're excited about that. We're also glad that all of our students have a complete 3-2-1 support system. They all have a club or activity here at Lehman that they belong to. They all have trusted adults and positive peers that they can connect to. And so we've really wrapped around them to ensure that they have that support system here. One of the things that we looked at was whether they were in leadership groups or activities, and 73% of these students are. So they are in Latinos in Action, or they are in the Principal Advisory Committee, or they are doing other leadership opportunities here in the building to show how engaging and exciting they can be here at school and be leaders for their peers. We want to see, obviously, growth in map reading. So currently 22% are proficient in map reading. Our final map window for the year closes maybe next week due to some technical difficulties, but we're hoping to see that rate grow. But 44% are reading on grade level in the ERLA, so in English reading, and that is above our building average. So they are outperforming as the school as a whole in that area. So in terms of requirements for action, we did a needs assessment. So they have a giant rubric that we had to fill out. So we pulled together that targeted action group and really worked to figure out where our strengths are as a district and the areas that we need to grow. So we know that some of the strengths that we have is that we do have improvement plans in place in District 33. We use multiple data points to understand our students and their growth, and our personnel evaluation system is very strong here in district. We also found that some areas for growth that we have is that review of data broken down by student group is not consistent. So we're looking at data overall, but we're not necessarily looking at that data by subgroup to look for issues of equity. We also know that some students here at Lehman don't feel included or represented in our school community based on our 5 Essentials survey data, and that high rigor and expectations is something that we need to continue to grow for our students. Based on that needs assessment, we then did a root cause analysis. So we had Dr. Jay Marino come in, and he led that group through several activities to help define that root cause. There were Post-it notes all over the hallway trying to figure out why we are where we are, and we were able to narrow that down to 2 specific concerns. These are the concerns. I won't read them to you. You can read them here on the slides, but basically we know that we need to do a long-term professional development plan that's going to help raise awareness of cultural bias and cultural sensitivity that may be present in the school. And then while we may have plans for attendance or skill gaps in place, we don't have a system for follow-up on those plans. So we're putting them in place, and then we're not monitoring them or adjusting them as we go through. So when we did our action plan, we wanted to keep these 2 root causes in place to ensure that we are addressing really what the issue is to help support these students. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my APs who are going to review the goals and action steps with you.
Hello again. I am here to review goal 1. Our goal 1, sort of what we're shooting for, is to move our rating from emerging to exemplary. And the basis of goal 1 is that we want to ensure that we are always supporting all the needs of the whole child and of every student, and that we're creating an engaging and inclusive environment for all. So that's the basis of goal 1. Maggie outlined some of the action steps, but we are really focused on culturally responsive teaching practices. During new teacher induction, we focused on sort of trauma-informed teaching and culturally responsive teaching. We're pulling in some of the strategies that we know are best for all kids, like Kagan strategies and cooperative learning. We've engaged in a book study this year with our ILT of culturally responsive teaching in the brain. And we started this work just in our ILT with the hopes of proliferating it out next year. It has really been truly transformative in our instructional and professional practice so far. We are hoping to do a pilot group of that with Yvette Dubiel next year. As far as our assessment rigor and our assessment protocols, we know that the first time that our students see highly rigorous, multi-step, multi-choice questions cannot be on a high-stakes test. We know that they have to practice and that they have to be able to encounter this in their classroom, in their local assessments, and that we need to raise the rigor for all of the students and replicate that process to increase their exposure to this and to increase their stamina. And so that is one of the goals of our staff work this summer and our curriculum work, is to retool some of these assessments to ensure that that is happening, and that the first time our students see these types of tests, they know how to answer and they know how to perform. We know too from our work with culturally responsive teaching in the brain that we need to leverage our positive relationships in our classrooms so that we can create more rigorous classroom environments. If we look at ourselves as a building overall, our respect and rapport in our classrooms is quite high. Our students report and our teachers are really creating great relationships with the students, and we need to leverage that so that we can continually and relentlessly apply that subtle pressure of rigor to raise the bar for all kids. We've already started this work because we know that it's best practices for all students, and that these kinds of things are really crucial to preparing our students for their futures and their readiness for high school. As far as the student experiential engagement, as we've talked about before, all of our clubs and activities are student driven, so we will continue that practice in the fall. We'll send out a survey and ask the students what clubs and activities and after school events they would like to have, and then we'll ensure that those happen and make sure that we are finding sponsors for those things that the kids are interested in doing. We are going to continue with our AVID program and our commitment to AVID and make sure that our students are getting experiential learning beyond just the classroom. So we're hoping to have guest speakers and people come in, and so our students can see themselves reflected not only in the walls of the classroom but in the world around them as well.
Hello. I'm going to be talking about goal number 2, and this one is focusing primarily on communication between the school and parents and guardians and the community organizations and agencies that support our community and our children here. Focusing on encouraging more parent involvement in our school, more community involvement in our school with different organizations, and actually partnering with those community organizations to help support the needs of the whole child and not just bits and pieces. And so we've got several steps that we're going to be doing. We have several steps that we're going to be focusing on to move into the exemplary rating instead of emerging. One of those is that we are going to be increasing parent engagement of parents and students through BPAT and BTAG. We are starting a teacher mentoring program where teachers are going to be mentoring students and building parent connections through that program. Our goal is to get more parents into our building for conferences and to increase the engagement we have for our fall and spring conferences. And one of the ways that we're going to be doing that is asking administrators and teachers and staff to personally reach out to families and invite them to the conferences and talk to them about the importance of those conferences. Hannah talked a little bit about AVID and creating a culture of college awareness and college going at Lehman Middle School, and so using the AVID program to make those community connections, make the connections between Lehman students and different colleges and universities in the area to bring those experiences and those resources into our building to support the kids.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have goal number 3. So essentially goal number 3 is our mentoring program that Mr. Mordini was talking about. So all of the kids will create a 3-2-1, so 3 trusted adults, 2 positive friendships, and 1 activity outside of school. I have a funny story about the 3-2-1. We needed to get the rest of our data for our spreadsheet, and the child was outside in PE running the mile. So I did do a lap and chase him down. I stopped halfway and just said, I think you'll just come back around and I'll get you when you come back. So we did get all of that data, but when they identify those adults, those are going to be the mentors. So that's a trusted person that they can confide in. And essentially we're going to run it like an intervention where they do a check-in, check-out system, and every 6 weeks we'll look at that data. And then we'll make decisions as a team. We're going to a full teaming model next year with all of our grade levels, so that's going to be really beneficial for that. We recognize that although we are a targeted school, all of the elementary schools don't have a large enough population of this subgroup to have that status, but it does start in elementary school. So we do have a plan and action steps for the elementary school. I won't read them all to you, but I'll highlight a few. The book study that we did at our ILT, we want to roll that out in the elementary schools, so maybe they start with their BLT and then work their way to the staff. We found that really successful here. That BTAG group, we had 2 really awesome luncheons with that group here at the middle school. And they did some good problem solving and some focus groups. Whoa. Sorry, that threw me off a little bit.
Threw me off too. Keep going.
Okay. And then the last thing is we're going to still be trying to recruit parents into the district, into some of those committees, like our PBIS committee, and all of that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Maggie, and she's going to wrap up for us.
As you can see, we've been really busy hoping to make some progress this year, and we feel good about where we've started. We are hoping that you'll be able to approve this plan for us, that we're able to submit it to the state. Do you have any questions that I can answer for you? Yes. Christina.
Something to add.
Sure.
Right before tonight's meeting, we met as a BPAT group with the committee, and something that came out of that was, I think, a really great suggestion for the district, not just for Lehman. welcome, sort of a new parent welcome program. So where we're connecting, and we do this for any parent, I think, but I think it's sort of particularly important for this group that's feeling disenfranchised to create links and connections to resources, to other Black and African American parents in the community, maybe local churches, just helping them navigate, from wherever they've moved from to here to make them feel welcome, to connect to other parents and students and make friends. And so I think that's something really easy that we can do. And Sarah, I was going to maybe hope to tap into you for that as well. And some of the members on the committee also had some resources for us. So that's something that we can add to that. To kind of, I know I love the parent-teacher connections for the conferences, but this would be like right in the door. They come in, we welcome them. I think it's just great for all parents. So.
Have we got any feedback from the parents or the kids regarding this plan?
So that would be the next step, that we have to take it to that group. So part of the next part of this process is developing a group for feedback. That comes after the plan is developed, that you take it to them and you ask for their support and their thoughts on it, and we would certainly plan to do that as well.
When you talk about writing almost a novel on each of these students, how many are we talking about total?
We have 31 students here at Lehman right now.
And when it comes to the truancy piece, what are we finding as far as the reasons?
It's varied, and I think part of it is that a lot of the families that we see who are in that kind of chronic truant group are families that didn't start here in District 33. So we find that families who have been here kind of since the beginning, they've either gone to pre-K or they started here in kindergarten or first grade, we don't see those same attendance concerns. It's those families that have moved in fourth and fifth grade, and I think that speaks to Christina's idea about bringing in that welcoming parent group, that they don't know the system, they don't know kind of how we do things around here, and school looks different here than it does anywhere they're coming from, and so we really have to build that buy-in to why coming to school every day is important. They don't have a peer group yet. They don't know how to connect to our resources, and that's where we kind of see that chronic truancy. We also have a very small pocket of this group, and it's a small group in itself, but who are newcomers to the country. And so again, building that buy-in to the American school system and the need to come to school every day, and kind of how to support those families with childcare needs at home, things like that, are part of that systemic response that we need to have for that group.
And some of the response that we got back from our focus group of students was that those that are coming in later, fourth, fifth grade, oftentimes they're the only African American Black child in the whole school or in that grade level, and so that's why I think that connecting of friendships and things like that is so important to reach out, personally.
When you come into a new school district, normally, even in the city of Chicago schools, there is an orientation, not even orientation, like a welcome that you go through. Here, being an African American parent, my son was put in the school as the only African American male, and it was just like here. Go to class. There was no expectation, even though he was born in this district. Just even transferring school was a transition. There was no transition plan in place. So for newer parents coming in, like she's saying, fourth and fifth grade, what is the expectation of this school district? What is the expectation of not just behavior, but homework? You know what I'm saying? Do you give homework? If you give homework, what is the expectation? It's never been, for me and other parents I've talked to, there's never been anything, you know what I'm saying, like set in stone. And I understand the curriculum is different, but we have kids coming from a different cultural, educational backdrop and environment into a school like ours. What is the expectation? What is your expectation of us as a parent? What are you expecting? You know what I'm saying? What do you need from me as a parent? And then what is it that I need from you as a district for my child to succeed? We have the tools in place in the school district. We have everything that our kids need to make it. But there's a disconnect in how to make that connection. And then wanting to make that connection because the child doesn't feel like they want to be. In the actual data that will be submitted to the board, the kids are saying that they don't feel welcome. So if you don't feel welcome, then you don't feel a part, then why would you want to come? A mere vibe of a stomach or something along that nature would make you not want to be a part. And then sometimes disparity in what they feel is what she was talking about as far as then they feel like, okay, write in this file, write in the report. So those are the things that I believe this plan will do.
I think that's a great point. Are we finding consistency with other demographics, with immigrants?
Well, they already have it in place, and where I actually came up with it was when we actually visited the high school, and even when we spoke with the committee here about how children come from other countries, and they're given our kids come in and we're already here, but we don't get that. We're just given a schedule and told what classroom or what school to report to. So I believe that that particular demographic has kind of been left out of that.
I know
But I think all families.
Right, I know we're working on a new college program for that purpose.
Yes.
Until we're there for everybody.
That's right. I think everybody needs it. But I think this particular demographic needs it more so now, because even though, like she said, it's a small fraction, if there was making us fall below that 5%, you know what I'm saying, then that's where we have to throw our attention at this time. But I'm on the same page with you. I think all families need that coming into this district.
The stories that they share, there's loneliness, disconnect. You know, I can imagine if you're the only Black or African American child or student in the classroom, that's gotta, you know, they're feeling somewhat isolated. Those are the things that we heard from them.
Right.
And trying to make that connection initially to connect them with other families or even friends in the neighborhood that would welcome them. So our parents are wonderful. They'll pull in any child into their group, their child's friend group. It's just not knowing that those child, you know, that those children need that support. So I think this is, I think, an easy thing for us to do, which I think would actually be fun. And I think we have plenty of people that would be able to get on board with that. So I think that's something immediately we can do for the fall. We can partner.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be back at the next meeting for the principal update.
Board salute.
We have two. The first one is a salute to Isabella Sendez, a student at Indian Knoll, submitted by Leslie Romero. She's a learning behavior specialist at Indian Knoll. And says, Isabella is the sweetest girl in the world. She is so kind to my students and is so caring and protective of them. Isabella always has a smile and gives a hug the minute she sees my students. She guides my students to participate in class and always makes sure that they're getting the help they need. Whenever she can, she peeks in the door of my classroom to say good morning and give warm hugs. She's the kindest girl ever, and I will forever be grateful for her being there for my students when I am not there. Thank you, Isabel. The next one is a salute to Lupe Nieto, lunchroom supervisor at Gary School, submitted by Senora Lopez, also from Gary School. She would like to share that we would like to express our gratitude to Mrs. Nieto through D33 for her work over so many years. She took care of our children and now our grandchildren. Mama Lupe is a special person. Thank you.
Talk statement? Any public comment?
No.
Any follow-up comment? Superintendent news.
So hello again. So as I said earlier, I chose to concentrate on our strategic goal 3, professional culture of teamwork and continuous improvement, and number 4, family engagement and community partnership. So for goal number 3 this year, we started the Fishbowl Project, which I did steal this awesome idea from Maggie Lay. Teachers have a fishbowl outside of their room and a goldfish to attach to the bowl. And anytime a teacher has a strategy to share, they can put their goldfish in the bowl and the other teachers can stop by to watch that strategy. We actually used a week earlier in the year to concentrate specifically on reading strategies. So every staff member was able to pick another staff member to observe his or her strategy for either ARC conferencing or the ARC main lesson. We actually are going to be doing another week like this, but but this time we're going to be concentrating specifically on math strategies. For goal number 4, back on April 12th, we had our family reading and math day night. We started out the school day with assemblies and a special guest author, John Shu, who wrote a special intro for the book, The One and Only Ivan. Every student in our school received a copy of this book in either English or Spanish. John Shu also gave away many free books to the students and signed all of the books, including all of the One and Only Ivan books. These two I just brought, but they were both written by him, which this is just a couple of the ones that he gave to us. Later that night, we held dinner and activities for all of our families to participate in. Every teacher had an activity going on in his or her room that related to math or reading. We had 318 people show up, which was a huge success for our school. So, thank you.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it appears in the board packet, please? I will motion. Excited to announce that Anthony Lear will be named principal of Courier Elementary School. Anthony has an extensive background in leading a change process and developing systems of school improvement while maintaining a positive climate and culture. Anthony's 14-year educational career has provided him the opportunity to mentor teachers, connect personally with students and families, and bring about sustained growth and achievement. Anthony is committed to the mission and vision of D33. He trusts in the district's core values and is dedicated to supporting the portrait of a graduate. Prior to serving as Lehman Middle School's assistant principal for the past 3 years, he also served as a 3rd grade, 5th grade, and D33 summer school principal. 3rd grade teacher, 5th grade teacher, and D33 summer school principal. Through his work, he has developed his love for teaching and learning and passion to educate the whole child. Anthony holds a Master's of Arts in Curriculum and Instruction with an ESL endorsement and a Master's of Arts in Leadership from Concordia University, Chicago. Anthony's bachelor's degree is from the University of Illinois, Chicago, and in elementary education with a specialization in mathematics. Anthony is looking forward to continuing to serve D33's community in this new role, and we are very excited as well.
So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Thanks, Sherry, for that tip. Good evening, everyone. I am overjoyed. I think at my last interview when you told me I got the job, I was in shock and I cried a little bit. I'm not a crier. I'm ecstatic to be the next principal of Courier. I want to thank you, Christina, and the Board of Education for your confidence and approval. To the Courier teachers and staff, it was a pleasure meeting some of you during this process, and I look forward to the opportunity to lead your pack. Go Coyotes. Mark, I'm going to need some help with that because you do a lot better than I do. So we're going to work on that at our first meeting. The last person I want to thank is my mom who is watching. I love you, Mom. And thank you, everyone.
In the board book, I also want to make you aware of the revenue received since the last meeting. We have received $1,188,210 in evidence-based funding, $1,222,412 for early childhood block grant, and $108,315 for the National School Lunch Program.
Follow-up targeted student group. So we are looking for a motion for you to approve the Lehman Middle School improvement plan for the targeted student group that which you heard tonight. Our motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Tom Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Diana Hernandez? Aye. Mrs. Morgan Venezia? Aye. Mrs. Rita? Aye. Passes 2023-24 Early Learning Center renovations.
Yes, as part of the Early Learning Center transition into Pioneer, We're starting a phase 1 project at Pioneer over the summer, which includes having a preschool playground and fencing around the playground area. So on May 11th, we had a bid opening, 3 sealed bids that came in, which includes a base bid and an alternate bid, and the lowest bid was Abbey Paving and Seal Coating in the amount of $321,000 and $321,455. So what we're doing is we're asking for a vote to award the bid to Abbey Paving Seal Coating Company Inc. in the amount of $321,455 as the lowest bidder.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Martinez? Aye. Mr. Condoyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Boucher-Gills? Aye. Mrs. Rita-Baldwin?
Aye.
And Dr. Hernandez?
Aye.
Passes. 23-24 school year class sizes.
Yes, we have, through the process of testing for dual language, we're seeing a greater population in need at Gary. As you can see in the memo, a year ago, we did reduce their kindergarten sections from 4 to 3. We're recommending that we bring that back to 4 based on the number of students that have came forward and qualified for that program.
Is there a motion to approve the increase in class sizes at kinder sections at Gary?
I'll move.
I'll second. Mr. Condoyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Martinez? Aye. Mrs. Rita-Baldwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Boucher-Gills? Aye. Mrs. Dr. Hernandez?
Aye.
That passes. Board member adopted schools for 23-24.
So this is just a discussion item to discuss how it's going to look this year and if there were going to be any changes. Yeah, so I asked that if we talk about how it's gone for us this year and what we want it to look like next year.
What did you say? I couldn't hear you.
Other than telling us what I'm going to do, so if I go to that's fine.
I had a very difficult time attending. Okay.
Have you been invited?
Yes, that has limitations.
I was invited
A couple times at the end, but not so much before that. And that I couldn't attend the ones at the very end.
Something that we discussed too was that might be easier for board members as well, is at the beginning of the school year, we do curriculum nights, and we'd love to have board members there like we did in the past, but also use that as an opportunity to show how parents can get involved. So we're gonna have flyers or pamphlets on all of our parent committees, and we're hoping that board members could get in front of the parents at the intro of the night to all the parents and introduce themselves, invite them to board meetings, and then share ways that they can be involved in the district through these pamphlets. And a lot of them don't really understand the committees, and so that's where we want to create flyers, have a table there for them to get answer questions. But that might be one way for you to be in front to show also to you're the adopted member of that school. If they have questions, they can contact you, knowing that a lot of you work obviously during the day, and a lot of the events are during the day that you're being invited to, knowing that you're doing it to all of those things. At least they can see you that way too. So I like that idea a lot. I mean, I think
Events are great. I enjoy going to those, and I think that gives us a purpose and a reason for people to interact with us. I think it would also be helpful if, so as calendars are finalized toward the beginning of the year of school events, if we could have those in advance as to what events we might possibly be invited to, then we could get them on our calendars early enough that it may be more possible for us to attend.
Now, I have 2 different experiences, because last year I had a Nino, and I actually contacted her, and that's how we got the ball rolling, but yeah, she had me come out during the day. This year I'm in preschool, and Brenda contacted me, and so I've been in preschool multiple times, but I also had birth at 3, and there's been no contact there. So I think there also needs to be some kind of understanding to who should be contacting whom and how it should be started. I mean, is it us? Is it the principals? You know, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm stepping on their toes. The point of this is that we want people to know that we're out there and we're listening. We're there to hear from you, you know, teachers and staff and parents, and but I don't want to push myself on anybody either. So
one thing that was helpful in very when she always invited, even if I said I couldn't come and feel me invite a little, so I knew what kind of was going on. I mean, even though I couldn't attend some of the things in the day, I knew. And another thing is knowing in advance. Like she said, like the ones I found out about like 2, 3, you know, a month in advance, okay, I can come to that. But if you tell me in this next week or 2 weeks from now, I'm not gonna happen, especially towards the end of the year.
You can have a specific person reach out to plan it, so does that usually work, or who reaches out?
I've never done it, so. Yeah, usually the principal, we talked to being here about who their adopted member was, and they're supposed to send an invite. Here's a, you know, reading night, and send an invitation to you. Some are remembering, some are not. And I think just as a district overall, we need to, there are things that have happened that I don't always know about either, you know, like the tennis. They just get busy and they're inviting their parents and planning around their community. And so I think we just need to figure out a system that we can, maybe a calendar or something that we're all connected to, that we can see it and we can kind of, and maybe it's more us to push out to you as opposed to just the principal. We're trying to figure out different ways to work on that, because there's so much going on. We're also now adopting schools, each one of us, or at least the admin are. And so I was also thinking too, like, how can we make sure that we're, you know, not at all of them, but at least our admin are, you know, at 3 or 4 a year, so they see us there too. So I think as a cabinet, we can talk about ways to improve that and include you in that.
I'd like to request that we have a longer conversation about the purpose of these assignments. Sure. I don't want to take away the focus of the event to have a board member engage in a conversation with a staff member or a parent, and have that be the focus of the purpose for the parent being there or the staff member being present at an event. I don't want to get into a dialogue that, like I said, is going to take away the spotlight being on a performance or a conference night or an open house night. So, while I don't oppose the idea, I don't know how realistic it is with building relationships in that capacity.
Yeah, I think it's more visibility that we're there, and it also gives us, so we can't possibly attend every event across the school district, right? So it gives us, like, outside of our home school, right? So we pick some school that's not our kids' school, and so it gives us a chance to view that community and just be more of a witness and less of a distraction, would be how I would think of it. I do think that we are, like, on curriculum night, it is an opportunity for parents to engage with us and talk to us, and maybe not a long conversation, but they can meet with us on that night, and then we can set up, if they have a full conversation they want to have with us, we can do it at another time. But it is, I mean, when I was standing behind the tables this year, I had conversations with people about various things. They weren't very long, but it did give people like a direct opportunity to engage with us. Which I think that's a really good.
Sure. I can see that. Thinking of what Maggie just shared with us as far as
priorities or what their goals, you know what I'm saying, are, you know, straightforward for the individual schools. Because I was able to hear from the principal's mouth exactly what she was doing at that particular school, what their needs were. Because being honest, each one of our schools are different. So, I felt like that was good, but that was not a conversation that we had at an event. That was a conversation that we had, you know what I'm saying, over the phone, prior to an event, or like when she was putting out the invitation or reminding me, you know, that something was going on, to make sure, you know, that I was still gonna be able to come. But I think the visibility piece for parents is really good, because a lot of times they don't come to the meetings unless the kids are, you know, a part of something. So it tells them who we are, and at least they get to put a face with a name.
I think we try it again for another year, see how it goes. And then we can talk about it even more throughout the year. See, like, we don't have to wait to the end of the year.
It's a couple of things I think we need to make the curriculum and the teacher appreciation. So,
yeah, that one's hard for a lot of people because it's in the day.
That's true.
So I think that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah. But I mean, even if it's not your school, if one of us, you know what I'm saying? And touch and go from there. I mean, I just went to they call it, it's like teacher collaboration. My church went and started donuts and coffee at Mateo Valley. I did that one day. It was an hour, 7, 8, 225 staff members in and out. But it was, you know, just really just saying thank you.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point. I do think, like, I think staff appreciation, I know I went and you went, but you didn't get to go, right? Because it was their work.
I went.
Yeah.
When I did different things, I went to staff appreciation in Dayton, and that particular one, I sat in the teacher's lounge for the entire lunch time. So that as the teachers were coming in their different shifts, and I was there, I mean, didn't give anybody space, but they knew I was there, and they knew who I was because I was there. And then this year, I was with Gina, which I thought it was really nice to pair up with Madeline. I was with Gina, and we handed out the appreciation things, and that was nice too. And some of the staff there knew who I was when I walked in, because I had been there before, which I felt good about. I want them to know who I am, you know. I don't want to be a goofy person for our school, you know, and nobody wants to talk to me, so, yeah.
Taylor, you can also build a relationship with the staff members and the teachers.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
And I think that, because I never talked to anybody when my curriculum, I just said, you know, hello, introduce myself, ask how to look like we had them table. But it opened the door for a couple of teachers I did not know at all. When they felt like they had, you know, a concern or issue, or they wanted to know why the board did something, they felt okay to ask me. Even though it was in the grocery store, they still felt okay to ask me, you know, what was going on, because they knew who I was. So I think that's important.
Try it again. We all agree to pick a school that's not our kid's school, right? Like, I think that's kind of a key component to it, because it gets us out. And we're not a parent there, so we're just an board member.
You can get a chance to learn something about their school.
Yeah, which I think is helpful. If we sign up now, will the curriculum nights be scheduled so that it will not be all on the same night and not on the same night as my kid's school? Because that was the problem. That's how I had to pick who I would sign up for.
Now you added another thing into that.
Right.
So the curriculum nights have been, I don't know if we're solidified. We have to have that by May 31st. So
can we look at them? We'll just look at them. I mean, we can sign up after they're solidified, if that would make it easier. It's just I can't go.
You can't be in two places at once.
No, I have to go to next year, so it just.
We have been selected by the buildings already, so we can put them out there and we can make sure that they're not, put them out and see how it works.
Yeah, that's a trick. That's that extra layer to that. Okay, that I forgot about.
school first, and then I went to.
LMS is on a different night than
Yeah,
Pioneer.
different night, and then.
We try to make
You
sure
were called
that,
for Stager.
we make sure that Lehman and Gary are not on the same nights as any other ones, because we know there's an overlap a lot of times with Lehman. You have kids in the elementary, so that's one factor, but yeah.
And
All
also
right.
went to the high school.
And the high school's in August, so we're safe there, because all of the curriculum nights will be in September. But yeah, that overlap of your child, yeah. Okay.
Sorry to make things difficult.
No, that's not at all. And I think last year, if there was that conflict where we couldn't figure it out, you could go to you guys could switch, and go to curriculum night. That just worked out with your schedule, and then wherever you were adopted. But I guess if we're doing it a little different, where you're gonna be speaking in front of the
Yeah, it'd be nice
parents,
if we could go to the curriculum night of our adopted
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll get that sent out to you when we have that finalized.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Exempt personnel salaries.
Yes, we have a small number of staff that are exempt from collective bargaining because they're not part of the association due to the nature of their work. So each year we have to set their salary, making a recommendation to the board tonight.
Is there a motion to approve the exempt staff salaries?
Motion. I'll second.
Mrs. Martin Benicia?
Aye.
Mr. John Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Jenna Hernandez? Aye. Mrs. Julie Walton?
Aye. IASB annual dues. So these are the annual dues to the Illinois Association of School Boards that we pay into for workshops and for membership, particularly for the conference. So we're just requesting that we approve those again. Is there a motion to approve the annual dues for IASB?
I'll motion. I second. Mrs. Martin Benicia?
Aye.
Mrs. Jenna Hernandez? Aye. Mr. John Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Hernandez? Mrs. Julie Walton?
Aye. Passes. Job title and job description revision.
Yeah, so we have decided to change the role of our lead tech teachers to be technology instructional coaches, and then have our instructional coaches who have primarily been seen as reading specialists be instructional coaches that can support all content areas and all teachers, and then have our formerly known ESL coaches, multilingual coaches, MLL coaches, and they will focus on the WIA compliance piece, access, and then ensuring that our students are receiving minutes and services that they need for ESL, as well as supporting our teachers with ESL strategies so that we can support our students with English proficiency.
Questions, comments, discussion? Okay, is there a motion to approve the title changes and job descriptions?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Music staffing for Lehman Middle School?
We typically don't come this late in the year with a staffing request, but in the process of checking in with our music staff after the unfortunate passing of a colleague, I did dig in a little deeper as to what their challenges were in covering classes, and we're trying to fill a position. And it was clear to me that we're in a place where we have a program that has grown quite a bit over the years, and we haven't necessarily kept up with staffing. And the previous team in their form was really covering a lot of sections above and beyond where we would typically have a teacher at the middle school cover. And part of my concern is that our kids are not getting as much face time with their music teachers because they're stretching themselves to cover these sections. So my recommendation, I won't go into the details, is to increase their staffing, not as a new position, but as a repurpose of position that we collapsed in the Achieve program, which we will now repurpose for special education. So we're asking to make that, I'm asking that vote tonight so that we can get it posted and hire that person rather than wait another 2 weeks. But we can delay it till June 1st if you need to discuss further.
I think your reasoning is very clear. So I'm comfortable. Yeah, anyone else? Okay, is there there a motion to approve the repurposing of the available staffing to increase one FTE band director position for Lehman? She moved.
I second.
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome, that passes. Newcomer update and grant funded position.
LMS has seen a significant increase in newcomers enrolling. Not only has this number doubled, but many of them have come in with limited or interrupted education. We're asking for 2 one-year grant-funded positions. These positions will allow us to provide them with the appropriate support, and we've talked a little bit about that this afternoon. At the end of the school year, we will reevaluate to see if the positions are still needed.
Is there a motion to approve hiring 2 newcomer teachers for LMS or Brandon?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Aye.
Mr. Tom Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Rita Baldwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Jenna Hernandez?
Aye.
Mrs. Lucia Mills?
That passes. Spanish language arts consultants.
In preparation for the 50-50 language allocation shift for next year, we need to create new SLA or Spanish language art units for kinder to 5th grade. To assist us with this, we would like to work with Danette Myers. She's with Partners, is the name of the company, and Lisa Black Gomez. The funding would come from grants as well.
Questions, comments, nothing? Okay. Is there a motion to approve hiring these SLA consultants?
Motion. I'll second. Mrs. Jenna Hernandez?
Aye.
Mrs. Martha Benizia?
Aye.
Mr. Tom Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Lucia Mills? Aye. Mrs. Rita Baldwin?
Aye, that passes. Summer construction update.
We have George here to provide an update on where we're at for our summer construction with regards to air conditioning for the summer of 2023.
You could have moved up.
You know, the funny story is I was always in the first row of every class all the way through high school. And I wasn't a student. I think I've said this before. If I haven't, it was because my parents never wanted to get me glasses because my brother and sister had glasses. So they wanted at least one child without them, so I couldn't see. So I sat in the front row. And that wasn't my choice. You just had a big crowd, so I was back there, or else I would have been in the front. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I know usually you guys get to see me at the end of a summer or when things go big, so you know trouble is coming when I start talking. So let's talk through things. In the board packet, about a week ago, I put in an update, a 2-pager of where the progress has been. So since we went through the pre-purchasing back in September and October to awarding of bids into the winter, we've been working and coordinating with all the contractors to get prepped for this summer. And we've had a good crew of contractors, and as we've been going through things, we've been ironing things out and getting things properly coordinated and logistics plans put together. But the things that are on track, as we look at Courier and Wagner, we have received everything that is tied to the unit vent replacement and all the interior work. So everyone is on deck and ready to go and coordinated as far as demolishing equipment, opening up ceilings, getting the ceilings and lights that we need to get back in place, all the piping, all the vents, and everything that is interior related installed. So everyone is on track on that. The other pieces of those puzzle, the things that are behind the scenes, there is steel reinforcement that needs to get done to take on the new chillers that go on the roof. We have those all coordinated and ordered, and all those pieces of equipment are coming. When it comes to Indian Knoll, that becomes a heavier one because there are windows involved. All windows have been ordered and on track of getting and here windows, shades, sills, everything that ties that building envelope together. The boiler room's getting completely redone, so all those pieces of equipment are already here on deck and ready to go. So those big pieces of the puzzle are coordinated. And then everything else that's tied to the interior work, from ceilings that need to get demoed, all the work that needs to get properly repiped and coordinated for all the unit vents that to get us the heating and cooling are here and checked. Turner was the last building that's getting touched this summer, and those are we wanted to get a jump start on that building in advance of 2024, so all the pieces to that puzzle, as you saw in the board packet, are all ready to go to get that one ready to go for 2024. The other side of the pre-purchasing side of things, which is the equipment for 24, you know, we jumped on both of those. We said, let's group in 23 and 24, order everything early so we get ourselves out of trouble. All those, we've been getting weekly updates, and we are getting those on track. Those things are looking to come into the fall or winter of 23. So those are coming well in advance of our 2024 work. But all the good stuff is there. That's there. We have found 3 challenges, and this is probably why you get to see me here tonight, as we are trying to catch it in May and before things start. The big elephant in the room is we had the chillers. The chillers that are providing the cooling, the last piece that go on your roofs. We had an alarm the other week where the deliveries have shifted from June all the way to August 18th. And I know when we got the alarm, we got all together and said, let's understand what that means to us and how do we address it, and what does that mean to District 33? That's the big piece, right? And I know when back in September, I think I'm always the optimistic person in the room, and I'm the realist here today, but the question was, what happens if the equipment doesn't come in? What do? We don't want to be stuck in a summer where things are half open and then school's not opening up, because we would all get in trouble and you probably would never look at me again. So we put safeguards in that pre-purchasing equipment, and those 2 safeguards that we had were, if delivery of equipment is not coming before the end of May or first week of June, then we hold it. And 2, the people who are doing the pre-purchasing, if things aren't coming in, they are the ones paying the funds to hold everything to 24, and no added cost comes your way, right? The chillers were always tracking in June. Everything else was coming early, and we were optimistic of keep pushing that forward. Every week we were getting updates from Thermo Systems of where things are tracking, and no dates were changing. So we felt confident that it was still okay to keep marching. That August 18th date that just came at us became a big issue, right? They stepped up to the plate and said, we understand if we need to kick that can to 24, they will pay and hold on to those things. But we know we have 24 as a very busy summer of other buildings that we want to get updated on. So on the construction management side, as we've been looking at house, we don't want to say, let's kick that can. We want to do everything that we can now and get everything done, because everything that we have would get your buildings, all the work prepped, interior work done, everyone out of there, and it goes right back to status quo as it was by day 1 of school, and we know that work will get done. There is no fear on that piece. Those pieces of the puzzle we have. So we want to keep those going and get those complete to have us the best success to keep us going for next year as well. The chillers, if they come on August 18th, that's usually a ship date. That usually means we're going to get it a week later. And it usually takes at least 2 weeks for us to get things dropped, picked, repiped, and connected. And once those things turn on, there's never everything that happens. It's never going to happen perfectly the first time. It'll take some testing and pushing and shoving and valves opening and closing to make sure it works right. So there are challenges even if we get it. So I don't want to be the one that says, yes, if we get it, you will get it day 1 of school and it can work, because I'm not sure about that. I know we can get everything else done and operational to be back like nothing ever happened, but getting the cooling side of thing, I don't want to sit here and say day 1 of school you can get it because of that challenge from the chiller perspective. Every contractor is on deck to say whenever we want to put it in. If they do come post that time, there are windows to be able to do it. They can hold it all the way till late 2024, drop them and put them in. These are the types of things we want to bring to the table to talk about. But that's the chiller side. So I talk fast and I talk a lot. So big picture, everything we have from a completeness to get your buildings back up and running, we have to look finished. The chillers are the last piece of the puzzle that make the cooling happen. Right now that's tracking August, which gives us a challenge to say day 1 of school AC would happen. And I don't want to promise that right now because we don't know. It pushed from June to August 18th. That doesn't guarantee that they might push again. We don't know that, right? It's going the wrong direction. The other 2 pieces can be overcome. There is 2 other challenges that we have. One is the switch gears for Courier and Wagner. Your existing buildings have the capacity to take on the heating and cooling, so if everything came, the switch gears are now telling us they want that piece of the electrical equipment would come in November. Your buildings can still function. It will just be maximizing that building's power usage without that in. So that wouldn't hinder heating and cooling from happening. It just makes it better, right, as far as power consumption. At Indiano, your existing service, your panel in the building is 800 amp panel. Once you you're not even using nearly that, but once you put your AC on, you're about 720. You're still under the 800 amp. But the transformer that feeds to the building from the village is much lower. So we do need to replace that transformer. In years past, it was always, you get in the queue for ComEd, and ComEd has you on the docket, and then when the time comes, they come and do it, and they give it. This year, because of everything's been going on, it's been from about 4 months ago, they changed their protocols. They don't even put us on the docket until everything's installed. So it used to be before you had it, and then you're on a queue to get it. Now it's, once everything's installed, then they greenlight it. Now, it condenses that timeline, but I can't give you an answer of that timeline until we get it installed. It might be a week, it might be a month. We don't know yet, because how they've been operating has been a little loose. So that's kind of where we stand right now. It's not the best news I wanted to come to the table to tell you, but I wanted to talk about it and see if this is an acceptable course of action for us to proceed, if there are issues that we want to change on it. I don't know. That's kind of where we stand.
Can you clarify? So you would do all of the work except the chiller installation, but the inside of the building would be ready for kids?
Yeah.
Without that?
Right.
So the delay on the chillers, they say August 18th is really September 18th. It doesn't affect the start of the school year.
No. So if we would be in your building and out of your building, and no one didn't even know we were there. Everything would look back to status quo, other than the fact that there's new ceilings and lights, so they would see the new. But as far as the heating and cooling aspect, it would stay on. And we were talking through the idea of, would it make sense if you got it September 18th or October? Does it make sense to put in? Because you'd be entering heating season, and when you commission it and you check it, you commission it 2 times. You commission it once in heating season and once in cooling season to make sure everything's working right. So we want to do it at the right time. We can install it any time in the winter, but it would be the cooling season when it comes around again, when we finally check to make sure it's working right, and that season will be the spring. So we don't have the answer of what time we could do it at any time in that winter/spring, if it comes in when it comes in, but we want to make sure we do it at the right time that makes sense for you as a district, that you're going to get usage out of it.
And the switches that you're saying that you're not going to get until November? Is that what I heard?
Usually, the switches, yes.
Yes. Okay, so I understood what you said about you can hold the capacity now, but in the event of an outage, will the generators hold on?
Yes, because the way your heating and cooling is working, they're never hitting at the same time.
Okay.
It's you're either doing one or you're doing the other.
Mm.
So the switchgear is really the part is, it covers it either way, but it's what it does is it just puts you close to that limit, and we want to make sure that you have more capacity in the future. Curry and Wegner was set. Indiano, that was the one that had the power, that had the amps, but the service coming to it wasn't there.
So you would do it during the winter break?
Yeah, that can happen, yeah. For the switch. So that's where we stand right now. I usually love coming here with the best news to share with you, but I don't.
Like 2 months?
No, not at all. And honestly, when we do our weekly meetings, and it was it was mid-June or something like that, and it wasn't changing. I know Fred hated it, because he kept looking at that one every time and saying, I want to push forward, and we kept trying to push. And then out of the blue, it just came that way. They never gave us an answer why or how. And for all we know, it could come back forward. I don't want to promise that right now, because if it's going one way, the odds of it coming forward, I don't see.
You think it's related to ongoing supply chain issues mostly, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, and that's been consistent, and everyone's doing the same boat that we've been doing. Everyone's getting it earlier and earlier, thinking they're going to beat it, and it hasn't. There's no light at the end of this tunnel. I thought by now there would be, but the smart thing is I'm glad we ordered this stuff for 24 when we did, because even though it says fall 23, if it slips another month or two, we're still ahead of it, and nothing is saying. If there was a date on there that said 24, I would have been like, hold on, but everything is still saying 23 for that track. So, yeah.
And this plan makes sense to me.
But that's really the update.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I did have one person in the audience with me this time.
Tax shelter annuities. Okay, this is just a formality. Each year we ask the board to vote to authorize the providers for the tax sheltered annuity that we offer to our staff in District 33. So you can see the companies listed below on the board memo, and we're just asking for a vote to approve continuing these companies.
Is there a motion to approve continuing those companies?
Aye.
Please read the whole amendment. Aye. Ms. Felicia-Fields? Aye.
That passes. There are no action items. Information items. Curriculum update and professional development.
So when the board approved the dual language change, Tom asked a question about what was the plan to present to our teachers, so that the teachers felt well prepared and supported for this change. Gloria sent you guys a presentation that the Department of Teaching and Learning came together with that plan. So I'm just here to answer any questions that you guys may have from that presentation.
Did you ask? What kind of question did you?
His question was, the most long list of questions, his was, so how's all this gonna get done? And then how are we gonna prepare the teachers? So that's what that PowerPoint explains, is how it's gonna get done and what's gonna be shared with teachers so they feel supported.
Thank you. Esser update?
So I just provided you with a copy of the PowerPoint that I added to our website. The Esser or American Rescue Plan requirements are that we update this information every 6 months. So this is the newest version of how all of that funding has been allocated so far.
Joint annual conference.
Yes, so I'll share with you the information. This is an annual conference that we attend. If you have any questions, otherwise we're just looking for you to RSVP, early on so we can secure hotels, etc. It does fill up quickly, all of that. So once you do RSVP, we go ahead and we secure all of that.
And what's the timeline? It opens up June 5th, so I've got a deadline of June 1st, so I can sort and figure out who's where. It's in your folders with information. We can also email it to you guys if you want that.
Okay, parent session on bullying and discipline policy.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, Whitney and I hosted a parent session. It's really an offshoot of our Culture and Climate Committee. Every year we are to bring in a handful of parents to take a look at our discipline and bullying policy. So we invited parents from all of the schools in the district to kind of come together, take a look at our policies, our board policies, and provide us some input on anything that maybe was not clear or things that they would like to see changed. I met with Mark and shared with him all of the notes from the parents from that evening on a few potential recommendations for changes to both our bullying policy as well as our discipline policy. So I know Mark's going to bring that to the policy subcommittee to take a look at that and then bring those policies back to the board to review in June. We were also, as we talked about, having that slideshow for our families at curriculum night at the beginning of the year. One of the information pieces from the parents that they really felt like we needed to do a little bit better job at explaining some of our discipline practices, some of the things that we do to address bullying. So we're going to be adding in a few slides for all of our buildings for our principals to be sharing with all of our families, kind of how we address discipline and bullying. And then we're looking at updating our procedures that we share with our administrative team once we see some of those changes that might come through the policy changes. So we'll work on that to go through with our admin and our admin
and then looking at how do we continue those conversations throughout the year with our families. One of the pieces of feedback that we got from that evening was parents are much more engaged and in tune to the information when it's coming from their individual school, whether that be through individual newsletters or information nights, as opposed to when we put some of those things in our larger, more mass communications. So we're working to figure out how we can gain more parent understanding of those policies and practices through our buildings, whether that is pushing things out through our building newsletters or individual opportunities in schools to bring in parents. So ongoing work, but it was a great night and got some really great feedback and just had pages of notes from our families that were there with us. Were you there? What was it?
Do you want to answer that? We had a discussion around that briefly, and Morgan, you had some thoughts on next steps. I'd share those with
well, some of my thoughts came from some of Rita's perceptions from being at the meeting. So, I don't know if you.
Sure. So I think that it felt like parents, when they read the bullying policy, the discipline policy I think was not really controversial. The bullying policy, it felt like it was very extreme and they didn't understand the steps that it took to get there and our discipline related to before it became that extreme. So we had talked about still forming a parent committee to try to bring parents in to talk further about all of that, learn what we do, and then engage them in potentially further problem solving on how we can better address that for them and better communicate to the community what's actually going on. Because I think there's it still didn't feel quite resolved at the end. Like there were parents, multiple parents who felt like it wasn't what they expected.
I think, part of what we're hoping is that we shared some of the policy change recommendations so that Mark can bring that forward. A lot more of them were on that bullying policy than in the discipline policy. And once we sort of get that settled with what that policy could look like, then we're kind of taking it through to the next steps too, and kind of where do we go from here with how do we engage and help our families to understand what that policy is, and helping them understand, because I think what we heard too was that there was a lot of questions about just what constitutes bullying, and just really not understanding the difference between not nice and unkind behavior and bullying behavior, and what can we do to help our families understand that.
Well, and to go with what Rita was saying, one of the things we talked about is maybe it would be beneficial to put some kind of committee together for the summer. I don't feel like necessarily staff needs to be there in the beginning. Staff has had a lot of training on what bullying is, and parents are not, right? So it would be a good place to start in the summer with the parents, and anybody who's in that community is going to share with other parents. And we would much rather have a positive beginning to the school year, and we feel like if parents are able to sit there, we can talk about what this is, what the definition of it is, why this is the definition, and it can be spread to the beginning of the school year. Then we can move from there.
I think it's not just parents understanding what our definition of bullying is in the policy. It's understanding everything that leads up to that and is not ignored, and that there is still consequences for bad behavior, even if it's not legally defined as bullying in our policy. And I think that was some of the confusion. I think that still is confusion based on the information that's gone out, the bullying newsletter and all of that. I think it's still confusing to people that what the term of bullying that we use is not the same that's pervasive throughout the community. And so I think bringing parents in to talk through all of it, not just the policy, but everything that leads up to the policy, and collaborate and problem solve together to understand what we do, I think that engages them, and then they go out and talk to people. So when people say there's this stuff going on in our schools, they are empowered to talk about, well, I know this is what happens because we've talked about it, and I was part of that process. much more for success at the beginning of the school year and throughout the school year, so that as behavior problems arrive and people say, well, my kid's being bullied, it's not coming from the school that that's not what's happening. It's coming from parents who understand what's actually going on in the school.
And the summer would be just to get us to that point, and then the committee moves forward and we can add staff and not saying that the staff and the students can't come over the summer, but we know everybody has limited time.
Maybe the end result, the goal of that group is to help develop, craft that message that principals are going to deliver at the beginning of the year. Maybe they're helping to frame those slides that we talked about at the beginning of the year, having all principals do a message and incorporating that as part of it. Doing an introduction and agenda for the night, for curriculum night, but also like some key points for parents to know about the building. One of them being behaviors, discipline, how we handle these type of things and framing it. Maybe they're helping to craft that message. And if it's coming from our parents and they're seeing it delivered on curriculum night, that might help to make them feel like they had some input and ownership over it as well. Can I ask a completely separate question? Phoebe used to be on the policy committee and she got this in yeah, do we need to replace her before we meet? Okay. Okay. Do you meet in the evenings or when do you meet?
I'll resend a memo. I'm hoping I've got everybody's addresses correct, but I'll email it again tonight just as a reminder. We propose some dates, and if those don't work, we can retweak that list.
You sent something out already?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. Review of policy 460, purchasing and contracts.
So thank you for the segue into the policy. I know that there was interest in taking a slightly deeper dive into some policies, and I volunteered to start the process, which I think might become a series maybe eventually, partially because I know that the policies are often voted on in bulk, and there's been some additions, there's some unusual, maybe not typical memos and requests of the board in terms of consent as it relates to contracts. So I thought I would take this opportunity to share a little deeper dive into policy 460, which is near and dear to my heart, purchases and contracts. And it might explain a little bit of what you've seen in the last few board meetings and how I am suggesting we move forward. So policy 460 dictates how or directs how the district makes purchases and how we sign contracts with vendors or consultants or labor companies. So there are some very specific things that have to occur as it relates to purchases, and of course in the memo I have some bullet point of just the highlights, but I did include the entire policy for you as well in case you want to read it. It was adopted in February of 2022, this most current version. So of course we need to enter all purchases and contracts in accordance with federal and state law. That goes without saying. When we are presented with a contract with a vendor or consultant or any other person or company, that we will consult with the board attorney. Typically this is Justin or Howard Metz from Robin Schwartz, and make sure that the contract language is acceptable and that the requirements that we have as a district are met by that contract language. But the most interesting thing, and you probably have noticed, that I discovered as I was doing a deeper dive into this particular policy is that all contracts, literally all contracts, shall be approved or authorized by the board. That is a really strong statement. There's not a dollar amount attached to that. There's not a limit that we have to hit before we bring it to the board. And I consulted with Justin, and his interpretation of that policy language is that even a contract renewal of a service that we've always had and always paid for constitutes a new contract and would therefore have to be approved by the board. And you can imagine that this could become an endless list of contracts that we are asking the board to approve, especially at certain times of the year when it seems like those things hit more frequently. There are some other components to this particular policy. So all purchases and contracts should support any district function that we recognize or purpose. And of course be of good quality, lowest cost, good service, reliability, and delivery promptness. It should be noted that when the board adopts the budget in September, that you are authorizing the purchase of any supplies, equipment, or services that are composed in that budget, provided that state law is followed. And anything that's not included in that budget that's approved in September would have to be a board vote on that, unless it's an emergency. I did include a little bit about bidding. So we are, state school code and state law requires us to bid if an expenditure is in excess of $25,000. There are some exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, you will see, like for example, Fred's the bidding process for the preschool playground because it exceeded that amount. So he brought the bid winner on that one. What I am going to propose to move forward with Justin's guidance is to add or make a change to our consent agenda portion of our agenda and add the renewal of contracts to the consent agenda. So contracts that we have with existing vendors for existing services that we're renewing on a yearly or annual basis would be included under the consent agenda, like the bill listing and the payroll expenditure or the payroll report. It would include the name of the vendor, the amount of the contract, the purpose in a short phrase if possible, and the length of the contract renewal. This would avoid the entire lengthy list of memos for contract renewals. Any new contract or new service that we would be contracting with a vendor would still appear under new business with possible action. So that a memo would be provided and the board would be able to see the connection to the district goals and purposes. So this is more informational than voting unless there's a concern with adding that to the consent agenda.
So in the consent agenda on the renewals, will you also line item like how the dollar amount has changed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if the renewal is an increase, we can do that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because oftentimes it does increase slightly. Mm-hmm.
Would that include like the bus contract? Can we do it that way too?
So the bus contract, because there's so many other components to it, I would probably continue under new business with that. So what I'm thinking of is like NWEA map. We have to pay for that every single year. The Who Knew It that we're using for data, we have to pay for that every single year. So things like that are things we, yeah. Okay. But things like the contracts for the dual language consultants, that would still be new business. Mm-hmm.
So as you soak on it a little, if you have
concerns or questions, feel free to reach out and email me, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. And then if I don't hear anyone with concerns, we'll move forward with adding that to the agenda.
Strategic management survey?
This was the third time that we have administered the strategic management survey to people in the district. We started just the committee for the strategic plan back in 2020. Then in 2022 we went to all admin, and this year we expanded to include faculty advisory committee. Back in 2020, we had 3 out of 8 scores were at a level 2, which isn't terribly good, but it's not the worst place to start. In 2022, we saw scores move into the range of 3, which is a good place to be, not outstanding, but good. And I would like to say that this year we finally hit a 4. In 2023, we hit a 4 in performance measurement. So I was very excited to see that. I gave you a table so you can see the comparisons across the 3 administrations. So our next priorities are going to be performance management, that's new and next, but we're also going to keep an eye on leadership and performance measurement, because we don't want to lose a decent score there while we're focusing on another one, because the order of these is somewhat important to some of the earlier ones before you can get to the later levels. In a nutshell, the whole point of this is to make sure that our strategic plan is implemented as a system, it's not relying on any one person to make it happen, that we have systems and procedures in place to maintain the continuous improvement process. And we'll be bringing you action plans around these, the new priority of performance management in August.
Thank you. Summer school programming?
We're very excited to host summer school again this year. Preschool, kindergarten, and first grade ESY will be housed at ELC. Second grade through seventh grade ESY and all kindergarten through eighth grade will be housed here at Lehman. We currently have over 460 students enrolled in summer school. We have over 150 staff members, including teachers, paras, nurses, clerical aides. We will offer a gate strand for students currently in gate 3 through 8. We will also offer new this year a Spanish immersion strand in kindergarten through 5th grade for our Gary students. We are going to continue to collaborate with Kate so to offer that extended day. And we are very excited to have a wonderful summer.
Any suggested agenda items for the next board meeting? Board outreach? Parking lot? Open comments? Okay. Blooming Fest is this Saturday, and joint board meeting is next Tuesday. At this time, the Board of Education will move into closed session to discuss personnel issues. The board will not take action after closed session. Is there a motion